Whenever I'm connecting or disconnecting things on a vehicle, I always like to first disconnect the negative terminal on the battery. That way you don't get any, you don't have any issues. If you're having trouble disconnecting the negative terminal because it's on there pretty good, you could just take a screwdriver and wedge that in between and loosen it up a little bit, just like that, and that should pop right off. Alright, now let's take a look at what we're actually going to be dealing with today, what parts we're going to be removing. In order to get to the throttle body, we're going to have to take the intake manifold off, and that's this part right here. It's the entire intake manifold. And we're going to want to disconnect that from, first off, I have a little aftermarket intake on the car here. It's a K&N air filter, and that came with aftermarket intake duct here. So, okay, we're going to want to disconnect from here to here. That's probably going to give us the least amount of issue. And then the intake manifold box actually has two screws that connect it, that mount it down. One's in here. I don't know if you can see that. And then the other is on the other side in there as well. So we're going to be removing those two screws and this connection right here, and then loosening the clamp on the throttle body in the back here, right next to the firewall right here. There's one more other thing that you want to worry about, and that is in the back here there's a mass airflow sensor connection. You just want to disconnect this before you pull your intake manifold off, or else you'll be sorry when you rip that thing off. So just make sure you disconnect this. I usually do that right away because I have a tendency to forget when I'm pulling parts off. Alright, let's get started taking the intake manifold off. Okay, first things first, like I said, I like to disconnect the electronics first. So let's get back here to the mass airflow sensor and just disconnect that. You want to press down on this tab, where my thumb is here. You want to press on that tab and then just wiggle it off. It should pop right off. Shouldn't have to force it off, it should come off pretty smoothly. And just kick that off to the side there. Just take a flathead screwdriver and start loosening the clamps in their respective places. Alright, that's one. Just slide that down. And once we get that intake loosened a little bit off of the mounts, we'll be able to pull that off. The other one you want to loosen is in the back here, which is going to be a bit easier to get to up here. Again, just take the screwdriver to it, loosen that up. Okay, next we're going to loosen up the mounts. Two connection points. You're going to take a T30 Torx bit. I have a little extender bar on there, and you're going to want to go ahead and get your tool seated in there. You can go ahead, connect your ratchet, and start loosening. It's not really a tight fit, and this should come off pretty easily. fact, if I remember correctly, when I was doing the spark plugs, those bolts, screws, they actually stay connected to the intake manifold. Okay, we're going to go to the other side now. Little tricky. Alright, that should be good enough. Alright, now we should be able to pop off the intake manifold here, as long as everything's loose. Just take this piece off here and pull straight out. There you go. That's your intake manifold. That's the other side. Again, those little screws stay in the intake manifold. Right, now we get a good shot of the throttle body right there. Looks like it's held on by 4 screws, 1 at each corner. And you got a connection here, 1 connection there. So it looks like we'll have to loosen it from this point first and then disconnect it from there. Alright, in order to get this part here disconnected from the throttle body, I just grabbed myself a set of needle nose pliers here. So what I'm going to do is squeeze and pull away. There you go. It's as simple as that. Okay, now we can move on to disconnecting this piece right here. Again, it shouldn't be difficult. There's 2 tabs, 1 here and 1 on the other side. You just squeeze it and you wiggle it off. There you go. Just put that off to the side. Next up, we're going to remove those 4 bolts at each corner. Alright, for this part, you're just going to want to grab yourself a 10mm socket, and again, I'm using the same extension I used to take the intake manifold mounting screws out. So you're just going to want to hit each corner, remove those bolts, and then we should be able to pop off that that throttle body. Just make sure you put these off to the side. Don't lose them. They're important. We need them to put this new throttle body back on. Looks like all the bolts are the same size, so you don't have to worry about which one goes in which corner. They should be interchangeable. Confirm that in a second here. Yep, all the same size. And then we can just pop that throttle body right off. Just pull it toward you. There you go. Alright, here's the old throttle body. Notice the ring at the front. Notice the thickness. Alright, here's a quick comparison between the stock throttle body on the left and the Fastman big bore throttle body on the right. Notice the forward entrance here. Doesn't exist on this one here. It's just totally machined away. Alright, time to install a new throttle body. And now you want to put everything back together again. So start off by attaching the throttle body. Okay. Grab a bolt and just feed that in to hold that down. Alright, now these weren't really tight to begin with, so I'm not going to tighten these too crazy here. Get my finger tightened already. I'm going to go ahead and not too crazy, because you're dealing with plastic parts. I know there are metal inserts in there, but you don't want to over tighten parts like this. Get yourself into a little bit of trouble. And I usually just go opposite. Give it a nice even seal. Yeah, nothing too crazy torquing them down. You should get a feel for what's right. Alright. Now it's time to make your connection again. Slide that on, make sure both sides click, and then put this little guy back up in there. Alright, well there you have it. It's reconnected. Everything past this point is the opposite of removal. Start putting everything back together. Get your intake manifold back on. Make sure you put the clamp on the throttle body. Make sure you put the clamp on the intake hose there. And make sure you also don't forget to clamp on your MAF sensor. And then button down the intake manifold with the two screws at these two mounting points here and here. And then don't forget to reconnect your battery. Start it up, see how she sounds. Thanks for watching, guys.